guys. Hey, look, welcome. This is number one episode. It's super exciting to be here, but we're here, myself, Eric, and this is the introduction to the Insurance Business Dirty Secrets podcast, guys. It's a weekly thing that we're going to be doing. We're going to be talking about everything that has to do with the insurance business, all the things that aren't being talked about out there. We're going to talk about it. And that goes from sales to marketing to recruiting, lead generation, which is one of the hotter topics across, and weekly trends, guys, right? Just our own insights that we'll deliver to you in as a funny format as we can. And we have an incredible guy here that has really been making some serious waves across the board. I'm super excited again to be here with him. But Eric, the policy dude, how you doing, brother?
Doing great. Yeah, no, I'm really excited to be here as well. And I think just off of what you just said on, in a world of insurance, which is typically extremely boring, it's guys with a lot more white hair than I have, and that are just doing the same thing, working with companies that have been around for 120 years, and nobody talks about I think what really goes on, right? What's behind the facades? And so it's really great that we both are in a place where we're free from any just censorship from big companies, and we're on our own, and we're building these teams, and it's just so refreshing to be in a spot that we can really just speak our mind and speak truths, and hear others and bring them on, and just have a really open forum where there's no filter, there's no BS, and we really can just be ourselves, which, for better or for worse, I don't know if I apologize in advance for that.
Hey, look, I'll tell you, man, I'm super excited because you and I have these conversations all the time, right? We'll get on the call, we'll get on phone calls, and just like talk about these issues that are real in the insurance business. We're always like, why don't we see this stuff in these groups, right? Why aren't people talking about this stuff? That's the real challenges in the business. So, look, let's kind of intro, because I think people certainly want to know where we come from, kind of who we are, and so give them a little introduction about who you are, and then I'll give them a little intro as well.
Yeah. So separately, just in my world, I've been in sales my entire life. A lot of it spent in hotel technology, home automation. I've worked in human resources and sales, and I've worked with many of the top 50 Fortune 50 companies. Traveled all over. Have managed, North America, South America, Caribbean, and just doing very high ticket item sales with a very long sales cycle, typically, right? So anywhere from 30 days to over a year to 2 years working deals, which is a completely different world coming into insurance, where we're meeting somebody for the first time on a phone call, and we're signing a deal at the end of a phone call. Like that's been a big change in my head. But so really corporately, I guess you could say, polished, coming into now like the Wild West of insurance sales, and which is as it is a completely different world going straight to consumer.
Absolutely. Look, I can and you and I actually go way back, right? And we'll talk a little bit about that. But man, I knowing where you come from, and that structure of working a deal for a year, for 2 years, cutting through the red tape that's out there, right, in corporate America. I can't even imagine it, right? You and I have talked about this. Like, I haven't had a corporate, I don't think I've ever in my life had a corporate job, and so the idea of it's like, man, I know the struggle and how hard you busted your ass to work for some of these companies and create profits and do all these things to, at the end, end up in a place where it's like, man, they're after one thing, and that's their own profit, and they'll step on no matter how good a guy is or an employee is to try to make more money, right? And so, I think it's incredible to see you transition into this business and the success that you're having in a short period of time. And so it's always awesome to see, man.
No, I appreciate that, and that's, I think, also really just what's exciting about the opportunity of being in this space, and where I have just a lot of motivation from, right? So when you're screwed over so many times in life, and corporate America will
Right.
you can't do that. Like, you don't do that. So that's where I'm just really excited about this now.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, look, and as far as me, I've been running my own business or some sort of business for a long time. I come from way back when I was younger, 20s. I was in real estate, had a mortgage company. Um, at one point, had ran a call center with over 100 people in it, and then after that, I went into the e-com business, where we sold products with a partner of mine. We started a company from zero and grew it to doing several $1 million a year, and got on the Inc. 5000 and is one of the fastest growing e-com companies. And we did that just marketing, right? Just teaming up with different websites and running ads, and us getting products from China. And it was an incredible journey, right? It was a 8-9 year business that we had, and then in 2020 I exited that business and decided to kind of figure out what I was going to do. And insurance was something that was always kind of appealing to me, but I had just been in e-com for so long, and I was doing so well there that I never really had the opportunity, right? But once I did, a good buddy of mine in South Florida plugged me really into the business, and man, I saw the opportunity right from there. I saw the lack of a lot of things in the business, and I haven't really been in for that long. I mean, it's 2 years, maybe a little bit longer, than I'm really like doing this for myself. And in that period of time, I think the business has grown quickly, and it's shifting fast, just like it does in all these other industries. Where in e-com, for example, right? Like, nobody could have ever known the power that somebody like Amazon was going to bring when they came into the market, right? What it was going to turn into from being an online bookstore. And so the same thing, those same shifts are happening in the insurance business, and the lawyer's business, and so many different industries where like technology is moving so fast now. And now automations and AI and all this stuff that's out there. It's like, man, the opportunity is humongous, and you're either like plugged into it, right, as an agent and as an agency owner, or man, you're not. You're just on a treadmill trying to figure out where things are coming from, right? Leads, costs, anything. And so that's a kind of an intro on me. Currently, we work together with Eric. We're building a team of health and life agents, and I also run a small marketing company that helps agents kind of set up lead generation systems. And I can't, like being here now, where we have the opportunity to really like talk up, like you said, making a platform where we can put this stuff out, these real conversations that we're having every day about running a business, right? Not just the insurance, but the world. But man, like, there is so much lack of knowledge out there for new agents about how do I properly run a business, right? Like, how do I get to point A to point B and not make 1,000 mistakes by listening to a bunch of the stuff that's out there. So it's really cool to be able to share some of the knowledge that we both have that's gotten us to where we are in life now, and doing this. And so it's awesome, man. It's really cool to be here, and it took us about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours to literally start this video. So, but we're here. We're here. We did it. It's the first episode, and I think we'll evolve big time from from all this. We'll look back at this episode and it'll be a good laugh. So, topics. What are we kind of talking about today? What are the things that you have that I wanted that that we can get into?
Yeah. Well, and I think too, I want to mention that we have a Facebook group. It's a private group, and then we'll put it in the description of the video too, so we can go there and just to parlay off of that last comment as well. Of there's just when we talk about open forums, be able to discuss these places, like all of the groups all over. They all have everybody has to be censored, right? Because maybe one group is owned by a lead gen company. One company is run by an insurance agency and a carrier. So agents, tens of thousands of them are getting, they have to be filtered. So that's why we created our own group as well, where, hey, free for all. Like, let's talk, and nobody has to worry about getting banned. Nobody for saying something like, oh, I'm recruiting agents, like things like that. So anyways, I mean, a hot topic that I think that was really what fired us both up about being able to, like, let's be transparent and let's share the world what's going on. And that's with leads, right? And especially with new agents and coming on board. And, again, all of the groups and all of the messages that I get every day is, hey, I locked into this group. I'm a new agent. I did as much research as I could. They never talked about leads. They kind of avoided it. I also don't know what really to do. I don't know how to generate them. I don't know where to buy them from. So I'm just taking these people's word for this is the way to go. And, and so, yeah, that's, I think, number one for us. Like, let's shine some light on that. And like, I hope that, the intention of this video is to really educate, right? The pros and the cons, what you want to do, how do you want to set up your business? Because I think there's a lot of different ways, right? One lead, there's 10,000 different kinds of leads, I guess. And excited to share more about that.
Yeah, I think, look, I think, as it's always for me, looking at it as a business, right? It's always about, okay, I can get better at sales, right? I can train and figure out sales. And you always hear, there's always controversy. People will say, like, well, salespeople are just made and they can't be, they're born this way. And I kind of disagree. I think that there's great salespeople that are out there that don't even know that they're good salespeople, but they get better and better by the process of really training and sharpening their skills. But one of the big questions that's still an unknown for somebody that comes into this business or any business, it's, man, where are leads coming from, right? How am I buying these leads? Who am I buying them from? Where are they coming from? Like, all the million questions that people have in the beginning about leads. And by the way, not even in just the beginning, right? Like, people that have been in the business for 3, 4, 5 years and have to end up going from lead vendor to lead vendor to lead vendor because honeypots run out, right? And the business of selling leads is to always have fresh people coming through the door, right? And so, you're going from lead vendor to lead vendor, and then 3, 4 years go by, you still have no control over what created this lead, right? What does it take to acquire a name and a number, right? A prospect. What's the process that happens in order to do that? And I think agents miss so much the idea of controlling the marketing and the value that holds in any business. Maybe not today and tomorrow, but man, in 3 to 5 years, if anybody that's out there and is trying to get into the insurance business or just started, we always get caught up right here, right? What's in front of our face and quickly, how do I make money right now? And there has to be a bit of a balance where you're also thinking about, okay, if I'm going to be in this business for 2 to 3 years or 5 years or 10 years, how do I start controlling the marketing and where my customers are coming from, right? Like, when you really think about that, it's like, isn't that one of the most important things in this process, right? Yeah, it's the least talked about or the least known about, right? It's always like, well, I don't know how to generate leads. I don't know where to buy. Where do we buy them? And, right? It's unspoken about because unfortunately, not many people are really great at it, and so many people try and fail. So it's not talked about. So the result is like, you join a company or you join somewhere typically they're just telling you to go buy leads, right? That company, that upline, or whoever it is that you're joining the insurance business with, it's like, yeah, here, go buy leads. Here's a few companies, just pay for them. I don't know. They come from Facebook. They come from, they come from here. You and I obviously have those conversations, and I think you talk to agents, I think more just because your content is really reaching out those folks. And it's like, man, what the hell are we buying? What am I buying? Right? Because I'm investing, and most of the people coming into this business, they're investing money, right? Savings, shit, putting it on credit cards. Like, some of the agents I'm talking to, it's like, man, they're scraping nickels to get into this business on these ideas that they're going to be successful in 30 days and make all this money by just buying leads, right? And so, yeah, I think the conversation about, if you're either buying leads or you're making the leads, right? And I don't think that buying leads is a bad thing, but you have to be educated on what the hell it is that you're buying. And if you're paying too much, is it really an exclusive lead? Is it coming into my CRM? Is it coming on a piece of paper and I'm going to print it out and they're faxing it to me? Like, you know what I mean? Like some of these lead companies, like, man, what's going on here? And so, buying leads, there's good vendors out there, right? Not all vendors are bad. I think just like in any industry, all vendors get plagued with this thing that they're bad. And I don't agree with that, right? Because I've been in the business for a long time and I've bought many leads in many businesses and have done business with good lead companies. And so I think it's about understanding who that company is. You're going to have to go through some testing, right? And we've talked about like even doing some reviewing on this show where we talk about like these different vendors that are out there that we've actually used or agents that we know are using them that do deliver, right? And so there's nothing wrong with buying leads. I just think you gotta really understand what it is that you're buying, and are you paying a good enough price, which ultimately determines a lot of your first growing pains. How long do those last? When you're paying too much for a lead, like man, if you're paying $15, $20, $25, $30 for a Facebook lead or a TikTok lead, your chances of being able to succeed, especially new, right? When you need to learn, you need as much activity as possible. You need more leads, not less. You need lower costs as much as possible, and so that's where it becomes a real balance. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's multiple layers there to unfold. And one, there's definitely the point of like at the end of that road where you have a high performing agent, very successful, who, however, is capped by those leads, right? So, but I think for most who we're talking to, and that's a whole conversation I think that we can have separately. But I think for on the whole, the majority for agents is like you mentioned at the beginning and the upfront, and these aren't things. These unfortunately, the major problem with this is people find this out after they get locked in and they're locked into contracts, right? And then they realize that they only have one solution for ads, and it's maybe not a really good solution, right? Maybe they didn't pick one of those good lead vendors, or you know what I mean? Now they're just tied to it. And now they're, and heaven forbid, if they look to a third party, maybe they're going to get reprimanded from their manager or something. So it's again, fuel for this podcast. So like, if we can catch people before they make these decisions, like, look, you have options. I mean, if there's any message that we're trying to send, it's you have options. There's a lot of different ways that you can do this up front, good, bad, and different, right? At the end of the day, like you mentioned though, is if we can really look at, okay, number one, where are they coming from, right? Like, and how are we going to run this campaign? And, what does it take, right, to be successful? These are all things I think people are clueless of, right? Because like you and myself and the messages I get, somebody will come to me and they're like, Eric, I've been running Facebook ads for 3 months and I've gotten 5 leads, or I've gotten nobody. And then come to find out, they're spending $5 a day and they're licensed in only 2 states. Right. But at the end of the day, nobody has told them, right? Nobody has said, hey, no, actually Yeah, the results that you're getting is normal for what you're putting out there, right? So, and then that same person goes into an insurance group and goes, "Hey, Facebook leads suck," right? And then
Correct.
so other new agents see that and go, "Oh, well, I just saw somebody who looks credible saying that it sucks, so I'm going to go with this other group." You know what I mean? And so, so much false information, so much misinformation, and so yeah, that's
Well, look, and I think you bring up a really interesting point, right? Which is part of this topic here, right? That, like, and I said it before, the lack of knowledge on the marketing side
mhm,
from some of these agencies and team builders and um, companies that are out there. And it's if you're in a position where you start running ads and it's not working and it's taking you months, and I talk to folks like this too, and it's like, man, it's funny, not funny, right? Because those people again are spending their money and trying to get this thing going, but they don't have any support to say, hey, no, that's you can't spend $5 on an ad per day and expect to get some sort of big result, right? And so,
right.
look, I think direct action for people. If you're in a realm where you're actually considering right now, okay, I think I can give a shot to like run Facebook leads and start. If you're going to do that, like the basics, right? And I think that you can, like, people can truly, right? If they put in the time that they need to figure it out, you can figure out how to run a Facebook campaign. I mean, literally, I talked to an agent 2 3 days ago, right? Is a face-to-face agent, Medicare, and has never ran an ad in his life. Hasn't even had Facebook. Older guy. And man, this guy just took it on. He went on, he started his Facebook ad account. By the time he was on the phone with me, he's like, man, I don't know how I did it, Oscar, but I'm getting like $15 leads in my area, right? And has no idea how he got through this, but he's running this ad, he's using a static image, and it's working for him. Doesn't work like that for everybody. Look, I think some of the basic things are like if you're going to run an ad, understand that you're not going to see performance in an ad for a week, right?
Mm.
Because the ad starts, and so if you're going to do this, go do it. Go try it out. You can find, images and things to create. That's all the easy part, right? The tough part is the mental side of testing and letting an ad run and not making changes to it, right? Because there's a million courses on how to create a Facebook ad. Not one of them talks about the actual mental side of it where you're
Mm.
almost gambling, right? Like it had for me, that's what it is, right? When I see an ad that's working, I want to put money into it, and when it's not, I want to stop it and do another one. And so there's a real mental side to this that none of these courses could ever teach people, and
Yeah.
that is that you start an ad today. And by the way, it used to be that you could start an ad at 20, $30 a day and test, right? And just let it run for a couple of days. That's over, right? Those numbers are up. And so if you're going to test an ad, you got to be running 40, $50 a day. And you got to let that ad run, 3, 4, 5 days at least, right? Until you can really sit there and go, oh, yeah, this is not working.
Yeah.
Especially in the beginning because Facebook is learning, right? Ad starts, it's in a learning phase. And that learning phase just means that Facebook is trying to figure out who the conversion is, right? Who are the people that you're looking for based on the parameters that you put into the audience when you made it, right? Which you're going to pick, the ages and, all the stuff that you can pick. And so in that learning phase, Facebook is spending your money, not negligently, but certainly overspending on days to try to find those conversions. And so if you run an ad and you're putting $5 and you're letting it run for 3 days and you got 6 leads and you can't, you called every one of them and nobody picked up, and now, like you said, Facebook leads suck, then you're making that decision on not enough data. You gotta let those things run. You gotta let them run 3, 4, 5 days. Now, there are times when you'll run an ad and that ad immediately, both ways, right? Immediately will have high cost that can be, and again, if we're talking, let's just say life insurance as an example, right? Like if you're in 10 states or more, there's no reason why you're paying, more than $15, $20 a lead. So sometimes if you're running those ads and immediately you're seeing that leads are coming in and they're costing you $30 or $20 or $25, like, don't let it run for 5 days, right? Just stop it maybe after 2 or 3 days if that's what's happening. The ad's not working, right? But if this thing's running and getting you leads at 10 and then next day it's 15 and then maybe a day it didn't get anything, right? Because again, it's in the learning phase. But the next day it came back and it gave you leads at, again, 15, 16. You got to let that thing run because these ads get better and better. So just a couple of like real insights. That's like, man, if you guys are going to be out there making these ads, right, and testing it, understand the mindset of it and how you have to go into it so that you don't fail and just waste your money. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think just for everybody, I don't want to assume that they know we're all on the same page, but and that's for telesales for leads, not just for face-to-face leads. You're going to pay a higher rate for that because you're serving a local, demographic. But yeah, when we're talking like if you're doing remote telesales, and if you're hitting over 12, 15, $20 a lead, like there's something going on there that's usually an easy fix, quote unquote easy, right? It could be states, it could be the time that you've put in, but yeah, she's like, you can't say that enough. I mean, because there's nobody out there that really understands any of that. And even for me, like when I started, right, it was like, okay, wow, okay, I'm gonna start at like $50 a day, and it's like, well, that's a lot of money. And then, but to understand and know, to have the support of somebody that goes, well, yeah, you need to put this in. It needs to learn for 3-4 days. It needs to have a certain amount of hits before it learns the algorithm, the kind of people that are going to respond, right? And it's funny now as we're running ads at a very high level, and you see how the analytics work. And like, for example, I think there was like a week ago where I hit every American Samoan in California, right? Like it found out that these people are needing insurance, and all of a sudden, like it was like 50% of my leads. And so, but that took months, right, to find that one demographic that really responded well to the videos and things, right? So it's just, God, understanding how these things work is huge, and the mindset, like what you said, and really just, and if you know that and you're equipped with that knowledge, tied into with like getting these leads at a low cost, it allows time to go by. And I think when when I talk to so many agents as well, it's when you're jumping into, okay, live transfers, and you're paying these high ticket items, and you have no idea what you're doing on the phone, but you're already on it's a losing proposition coming in. You're going to be dumping a ton of money. You're going to be draining your bank account, just like we talked about. People with credit cards, that you see the YouTube videos, right, where people are like, man, I'm living in my car. I've got so much debt coming up. Legit, I think I just saw one last week. A guy been wiped out. He's like $50,000 in debt. So anyways, it's so vital. It's so key. And just, man, if anything, to know that there's options and there's a way that you can do this, and it takes time. So let's talk about like leads and where we can get them from, right? So like I'm an agent, telesales, like I know we focus on Facebook. I know there's TikTok as well. Run ads, we've got experience. Like, let's talk a little bit about what that looks like, what we're seeing, right? So, and I mean, I think like, and some names on it, right? Because I think people see what is really confusing for the majority of agents out there. One, like, what's an aged lead? I'm seeing aged leads. What is multi-source lead? Like, what does this mean? Like, when I see, if I don't know anything about this industry, and you're saying, hey, Eric, I've got some multi-source leads for you. I'm like, man, that sounds like that's the ticket, right? But let's talk about this a little bit, and and let's really, hey, again, if we want to, if there's options, let's talk about it.
Yeah, look, and there's many different types. That's a good point, right? There's all these different types of leads that are out there. Some of these names that are out there for stuff are just made up by people that are selling them, honestly, right? But an age lead is nothing more than, right, it's a lead that somebody's had or was produced. Anything basically outside of exclusive, right? Outside of like real-time lead, it's an age lead, right? So it really becomes an age lead like the second after it's produced, right? But typically you can buy that data. right? So, you know, one of the things to keep in mind is when you're buying that age data, it can be 7 day old, it can be 30 day old, 60 day old, 90 day old. Ideally, you're not buying anything over 90 days, primarily because it's TCPA compliant and you can't be dialing people after 90 days, right? That's the consent that any company is getting and can get right now from a prospect to call them, text them, blow up their phone, whatever. That's it. It's 90 days. So if you're out there buying age data that's over 90 days, you're playing with fire in some way, shape, or form. Now, again, you're a single agent. You're not dialing millions of numbers, and so your odds of ever coming across an issue are small. But trust me, you do not want to get a TCPA litigator that sends you a letter and is trying to,
Come out
is trying to juice you for $5,000, or they're going to file a, because that's what this is about, right? It just becomes about these litigators that are out there constantly looking for people that are violating TCPA and then just trying to squeeze them for a few bucks, $3,000 to $5,000. And they do 100 a month and they make 5 million a year, right? And so it's a crazy business and it's out there. And so if you're buying age data, just make sure that it's under 90 days. Now, how do you know if it really is under 90 days, right? Like, how do you really understand if it's whoever's selling it to you actually is selling you something that is within the time frame they say? Couple, right? So if they're major lead vendors, they're going to provide the agent with what are called either a trusted form or what's called a Jornaya ID. Okay, these are two companies that provide a validation system for lead companies when they generate a lead. If there's a trusted form or a Jornaya ID, they're just two series of numbers, if those are attached, it's recorded when that lead was actually created, the IP from it, where it came from, and all this validation data that basically saves your ass, right? And so when you're a bigger agency, and again, individual agents are not going to know about this stuff, but here's the knowledge that we're kicking out to you guys, right? Like, we're giving you realness that I've gone through, right? I've gone through all this stuff. And so you want to buy from a company that has those IDs, right? And a lead vendor pays a few cents per lead to add these trusted forms and these validations, because if they're a real lead vendor, they don't want to get shut down, right? Just like you as an agent or the agent want to get the TCPA compliant notice and the fines. So you're looking for those two types of IDs. If the lead doesn't have that, again, go with God. You know what I mean? Like, you're just calling a name and a number that you don't know when it was generated. How it could be a year old, right? So super important, And look, I actually, when you ask me about age data, I have a real soft spot for it, because I ran call centers with 100 people. Completely, right? Like, I was buying hundreds of thousands of names and numbers, all compliant, all completely compliant, right? But so, and it works, right? And so, and I really believe in it in the insurance business, especially for new folks, right? Like, if you're new and new, right? You're new to sales, you really don't have the experience. You're trying to get it. You're trying to learn. It's just such a good tool to be able to go and buy 300 names and numbers for a few $100 and make sure that age data is 7 days old, right? I wouldn't go more than 14 days old. Anything more than that, you should be paying like pennies for it. But if it's like 7 day old, you can get it out there from some of these vendors for $1, sometimes even less, depending on the volume. But man, like, talk about value, right? Because if you're going to come into the business and you need to practice before you start spending $3, $5, $10, whatever, right? Like, if you could spend $300-400 and get some of the bad stuff out, right? Get the pitch out, get presentations. And you've seen this lately as we brought on some team members where we start them off with a batch of age data, and they actually pulled deals, right? We had somebody just a few weeks ago, a girl that joined us, right? And she pulled 3-4 deals out of a batch of think 100 numbers, 150 numbers.
Yeah.
And so it's like, man, there's value there for an agent, I think, especially the new guys. Now, look, if you're a closer, right? You've been in sales before, you know how to close a deal, you understand the concepts, or you're already selling insurance, then probably age data is not something that you should be going into, right? That's the reality of it. But there's a place in a world where age data can really be a great stepping stone for a new agent coming into the business.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's too, like, that's a great way of really setting up, like, for a new agent to come in, of like, hey, you need to, like, you need your expenses, just like starting any business, you need to be extremely careful of your expenses coming in, right? And starting out, the most expensive, it's not a good, everybody has their opinions. I don't think it's a good path. But I think also what's really important here when we talk about age data as well is not necessarily how long it's been aged, how many times has it been shared, right? Like, that's a big thing where it's like, okay, and if I'm a business owner and you're a third party company, like, I don't care if you have an office with the Pope. It's like, am I trusting the fact that you haven't sold this to 100 other agencies as well? And now I've got to lead myself and 20 other agents, 50 other agents. Maybe it's my own people and my own team, unfortunately, that all have these same phone numbers. And we're all sending a text message. We're all calling them 3 times a day. Like, wow. Like, we talk about I think we dropped 150 and she pulled out 3 deals, 4 deals. It was, but that was only, that was one person that had called those leads, and that was it. Like, that's beautiful. And it was, 7-day-old, perfect, right? So I think when we talk about age data there's a balance there too, right? Like, okay, can I get pennies on the dollar age data? However, you need to understand this is probably sold to a million other places, right? So again, I think one is how old is that age data? How exclusive is that age data? And then the other really, really, really big thing here is, where did it come from? Because again, I talk to a lot of agents who are like, well, Eric, I called this person, they filled out a form for a free 7-day vacation, and now I'm calling them to talk about life insurance, and that's a lead that I bought. Or, I make the joke all the time, like, they were playing Candy Crush on their iPad, they tried to reload a new level, they accidentally hit on the ad, and now Susie Q, the insurance agent, just bought a lead for life insurance, and it was, this person has, you got him on the phone, or you got him some engagement, but you are going to spin your wheels if this is what these leads are coming from, right?
Yeah, and just a touch on that, right? So those are leads that are like sweepstakes style leads, or leads that come from those types of channels are really known as like co-reg leads, right? And we're typically made for different types of products or services. Really, primarily, like, a co-reg lead works great for app downloads, right? Like, that's where these things really do well. However, lead vendors, right, started seeing the way that they could sell those same leads to other industries, to people that have no idea the concept of where that lead is really coming from or how it's being generated. And again, it's super affordable, right? Like a co-reg lead, and there's a few, right? There's a few lead vendors out there that are massive, have amassed millions and millions of dollars a year businesses selling co-reg data, right? That they generate for 2 pennies, 3 pennies on an average, sometimes even less, because they own all these different domains, and they're doing these sweepstakes style quick hits to people. And so yeah, again, if you know what you're getting, right? Because I will say the other side of that, like co-reg data, if you're going to put it into a dialer and let somebody run through 1,000 numbers, they're going to get deals out of it. But again, like, that's just not something that a new agent should be doing, right? So yeah, anything that's a sweepstake or co-reg lead, man, like, just run. And I go back to what I said before. It's like, if you're going to buy age data, if it doesn't have a Dornaya ID or a trusted form, I don't know that I'd buy it, right? Like, I personally wouldn't, right? If I was buying age data, because we have a bunch of agents now on our team, and now it's like, all right, we need data to start getting people on the phones.
Right.
I'm not buying any piece of age data that doesn't have one of those two IDs on it. That's just, and again, once you're in this business long enough and you see that, man, you hit the wrong person or something goes wrong and you don't have that, you're the one that's left out to dry. And that sucks. That's something that you don't want as an agent. So, look, age data. Now, and then from there, right, getting out of age data, because I think it's a stepping stone. You quickly have to, which it goes back to what we talked about, right? Like the idea that an agent starts today. You need that agent to be on the phones quickly and as much as possible to get through the humps, right? To fall through the challenges, to hear what somebody really says on the phone to them, to get punched in the mouth and fail, so that hopefully they have the support and the training of somebody that can say, hey, you did this wrong, and fast tracking that learning curve that happens to a new agent. But if they don't have that, then they're just, they might be able to get through it, but it's going to take a lot longer if nobody's coaching you and nobody's helping you in that sales process, right? And so that's where I think, like, okay, if you can do the age data or some sort of, cost-effective lead in the very beginning, then get on the phones, get some presentations, and quickly progress so that you can start getting into some real leads, some fresh leads, and maybe some exclusive stuff, which we can, kind of now talk about. But yeah. It's a process, man, for sure.
Yeah. Well, okay. I like that. And I think that's really great information, because I truly believe, just on the groups and the messages, that, man, it's a slippery slope if you're buying the wrong leads. And so let's really dive into some juice here, because I think what's really, like, what a lot of content I'm pushing out, what you're seeing, what a lot of people are also really scared to talk about, right? And I know we're going to ruffle some feathers, but that's okay, because I think the more everybody knows how the system works, we all improve, right? And we all have, like, we're going to set ourselves up for the best way to succeed. So let's really talk about, what we've seen. And we have a lot of conversations about this probably every day. And, and it comes down to middlemen, and it comes down to buying leads and reselling them to agents, and whether they're on your team, whether you're out, it's like you're going through 4 people to shake a hand here. And where we're seeing people buy leads that are being acquired for less than $10 and turning around and selling them to new agents who know nothing, who need the training, who need to go through the volume, who need to get rejected, and now are having to, they're having to pay 300, 400, 500, 600% over cost of these leads to get them in their inbox, to now, and then hopefully they have a manager who's willing to work through them, right? But let's talk about that. Is this industry standard? Is that, we see, I don't know, I get confused, and I'm asking this question generally to the world. We're here, we're insurance agents, right? And I feel like there's a lot of companies out there that call themselves, they're insurance agencies, insurance companies, but really at the end of the day, they are making all of their money and income from bringing as many people in the door they can, selling them so many leads, convincing them this is the way. Look, just buy leads. You need a script? Don't worry about a script. Buy more leads. You have no sales? Buy more leads. And it's all the content you see. All the content you see. I'm like, man, this doesn't make sense. What do you think?
Man, this is a real topic that man, like, you and I have had, like, really serious conversations, and have gone down these rabbit holes, right? And it honestly, it pisses me off, right? It's because when you take a step back and you look at the industry and you see the shit that's being fed to new people coming in, right? Yeah. The ideas that are being fed, and it adds on to that fail rate that we see in this business, right? Which is extremely high, right? 90 plus people fail, right? Everybody sees this number and talks about it. And I believe it, right? I think we see it now as we're more and more involved and talking to more and more agents across the board. It's like, wow, the shit that's being sold and fed out there to people,
Yeah.
is one of the main contributors in the failure rate in the business, right? And so for me, as somebody who generates leads and markets and then just has run businesses, man, it's like it seems like such a shitty way to grow an
Yeah.
industry, right? And I know that millions are being made off of these structures and models, um, and so to each his own. But I do believe that it's creating a situation where it's hurting, right, those same businesses, because it's only a matter of time before those things get more and more exposure, and the realities of those models start coming to light, and
Yeah.
people, right, where again, listen, guys like us are out here just having the conversation, right? Like, I don't understand how, like, for me it's a conflict of interest, right? And I see both sides of it, right? We've talked about this, like, particularly like carriers selling leads to agents, right? That's, man, that's, it's it's like walking on eggshells, I feel like, for a carrier, right? Because on one side I understand, like, okay, if we provide agents the leads and we're making sure that they are compliant, right, then it's keeping everybody out of trouble.
Yeah.
Again, that's awesome, right? That what a great effort that is as a business to be able to do. But now we get into the business side of that, right? So now a carrier is generating leads for an agent or an agency. And for me, the direct, like, reality, right, of what it is comes down to what are you generating that lead for and what are you selling it to your agent for, right? And if that number is a number that's just like ridiculous, like what's out there, right? In some of these cases where again, you know, at scale, right? A business generating 1,000 leads a day, 2,000 leads a day, like we're talking big numbers. You're not adding that much more money than you and I generating leads for a team, right? Like we might generate that lead for $3, $4 a lead. At scale, a business that's doing 1,000 a day is maybe
Yeah.
doing $8, $9, right? Let's say that. Let's just, right? It's just somewhere around.
Yeah. Well, look,
Yeah.
if you're, it's like as simple as it's just that handshake. It's like, okay, Oscar, you're my new agent. I'm bringing you on, man. I want to see you succeed. I want you to grow this business. And then of course, knowing like, look, we're all in the business to grow and make money, right? Like we're in business to make money. However, and look, I'm going to get my override on you. You're my new agent. And that's why I'm going to support you, train you. And that's why I want you to succeed in the long run, not just in the next month. You know, make all your money on leads and drain your bank account. And thanks, Oscar, I appreciate it. But how can I look you in the eyes and say I care about you and your success when I'm recruiting you, right? Like, oh, come on, I care. We're family. Come on over, Oscar. Like, come on. And then you come on, and I'm like, all right, Oscar, you got your license. You're good, man. And guess what, man? I got some leads for you. And I just wrote a check to some party. I got them for $7, right? I bought them for $7. And I go, Oscar, welcome to the team, man. $30 a lead. You just got to pay me, and I got them all day for you, bro. And I want you to succeed, right? Like, what? Like,
Well,
why wouldn't I not go? Why wouldn't I not be like? And I get it, right? There's admin and there's all this stuff. Why wouldn't I not go like, hey, look, $9. I'm going to get you leads, right? And I'm going to cover my cost of managing and dispersing. And like you said, right? If that delta is insane, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think I just saw 600% like markup. Like, what are we doing here? And then and don't tell me you're going to mark it up that much and then recruit people saying, you know, well, family and I want you to succeed. No, you care about yourself succeeding. There's no way, because I talk to people every day. They're selling 20,000 plus AP a month, and they're breaking even. They're capped. They're not making any money.
Well, it's interesting, right? Like, and I made a post about this last week, right? About the idea that are these carriers, because again, you know, you say like, you know, I want to cover my costs, and if the idea is to help agents succeed and to grow an insurance business, but what if it's not? Right? Like, right, we started playing this the other side of this coin, right? Like, man, hold on a second. Wait. I know we got into this to sell insurance, right? I know that was the idea, but hold on a second, because we're bringing in 1 agent, 5 agents, 100 agents, 1,000 agents a week, whatever the number is, right? And by the way, there's many companies out there doing this, right? And so you bring in however many agents you bring, and we calculate. It's easy numbers to determine that, like, okay, if 90% of people are going to fail, then our chance to really make money on the agents that make it, insurance-wise, is small, right? 90% of them are not going to make it. So in 3 months, we've trained them, we've spent time with them, we've done whatever support, we've done all these things, right? There's true cost involved in training a new agent, right? And so time, all that stuff. But if 90% of them are gone, man, are you ever really making that up, right? As a carrier, fronting 9 months and all the things that the structure, the model exists, right? But what if there was a place where every single person that carrier recruited became a profit, whether they made it or not, right? Whether that agent comes in and they're going to now start buying leads, right, at a huge margin, and now we're not spending. We're spending the same amount of time on the agent, training, doing the support, whatever's involved. But now, from day one, we're making money on that individual, right? We're monetizing that agent. And by the way, if they make it, right, if in 3 months they're still here, great. We're going to make money 2 ways, right? We're going to make money by the insurance sales that they're doing and by the marketing and ad dollars that they're spending and the leads that they're buying from us. And if they don't, right, if they're in for 3 months, 6 months and don't make it, they've gone through a great percentage of their money to try to make it, and we've profited every single step of the way.
Yeah.
How does that not become the money, right? Again, I'm just playing it like from a business. Forget about people and like the fact that you're screwing people, right? Basically, just as a business, if you were showing me, lines on a chart and profits and losses, and I was looking at it, man, it's clear as day that the amount of money that you can generate from actually selling leads, especially if you're gouging people who have no idea, right? New people that are coming into the business, where you're funneling them through messages of be quick, be successful in 60 days, make hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's little effort. All you have to do is follow our program. Plug in, turn the key, and that's it, right? Just and put a credit card or give us your bank account, and you're good. It's going to be all right. And so you come in, right? And now I've never ran a business, right? I was just a teacher for 20 years. I was a principal for 15 years. I was, lawyer, admin, right? All the paralegals, right? The people that are really coming into this business by the masses are truly not people that have ran businesses before, right? And so that lack of business management and understanding puts those people even more in a place where they're just going to follow these like ideas, right? That come in, follow this system, and you'll be successful. Well, guess what?
Yeah.
Go.
No. I mean, and that's where we preach, right? It's like this guy on the yacht. He told me he got this yacht in 10 years, and I just follow the system. Like if I just follow the system, but I'm not going to ask details about the system because this guy's on a yacht. He clearly knows what it clearly worked, right? Like, but little do you know, it's people like you watching that YouTube video that's funding his yacht because he's making millions on leads. And it just falls perfectly into the passion behind this podcast. And we just got to open, this has to be exposed, right? Like this has become kind of a standard. And there's an element to where is it like the easy way out for these agency owners, right? Where it's like, we see it, it's a grind and it's a tough industry to get into. Nobody really will ever tell you that. And I think we'll be the first to tell you it's tough and it takes a special person. But you do get the people in and, man, we, in investing time, right? Like you, right? And myself, and we get on a new agent and we're hours on the phone. And then the next 2 days, they're going car shopping. and they're not even they're not even working, and then they fade out, they don't make money, and they quit, and it's like, so then I think you fall into this trap, because I don't think everybody is malicious in this way to an extent. I think maybe it's the lazy short route. Okay, well, listen, I'm gonna stop putting effort in these folks, and let me just make every dime I can on them. And man,
Yep.
yeah, and I think that message comes through, right? Because you can't tell me, if I care about you, that I'm marking this stuff up and I'm going to make $2,000 on you whether you sell anything every week. Like,
Right.
that's literally what these people are making.
And I think, man, that's really because again, that's the other side of the coin, right? Which is man, it's important that we talk about that, right? Like, as a business owner, right? And regardless of the level that you're at and why you're recruiting, if you're recruiting too soon or not too, whatever. That's not the topic, right? The topic is, if you're at a place where you've taken on recruiting and you're really trying to do a good job and build a solid team, it's not just about like sending someone paperwork, the contract, or a link, and then sign up and you're off to the races, watch these videos. Like, there's real work and time involved into training somebody, right? And look, at when you started and we went through it, we spent hours on the phone, right?
Yep.
Having call reviews and right and listening to calls, and even while you were on the phone, listening to calls, and I would text you what to say to somebody, and like you know what I mean, like hours of grinding and investing into someone. And what happens is, as a business owner, when you embark on that path, and you quickly start seeing human nature, right, and really what some people will in their head want to achieve, but
Right.
as soon as they put the toe in the water and they see that it's freezing cold, and you gotta jump into that ice bath, and there's real work involved and discipline and doing this shit, and then they turn around and they run away. Like, as a business owner, when you do that 2 times, 3 times, 10 times, 15 times, right, and you're like, well, shit, I just spent literally a month's worth of work training these people.
Yeah.
And they said they were going to dial. They said they were going to work. They said they were going to have the discipline. They said this. And then every excuse in the world appears why they can't be there, and why they can't deliver, and why they had to get up and go have a croissant or go pick their nose or whatever it is that they're doing, right? It's like, and so as a business owner, I think you get to a point where you're like, okay, well, man, how do I get paid for my time, right? How do I get compensated and not keep wasting the time that it's taking? Because again, some people make it and they do follow through and they do bust their ass and they do the work and the activity that's required to be successful, and that's the reward as a business owner. But for all the people that don't, man, it's a mental side, right? How do you manage that? And some people probably go way left, right? They go, man, screw this, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to monetize the shit out of these people, and I'm going to make a profit because my time is worth X, and da 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 da, right? But I also think there's a medium ground, right? Like, there's great agencies out there that are doing, and carriers that are doing great work in saying, hey guys, we're going to provide these leads. They're not at an upcharge, right? Maybe it's a lower commission, maybe it's some kind of deal structure, and there's many of them out there where it really shows the intent of that carrier in trying to make their agent succeed, as opposed to making this giant profit and monetizing, squeezing people for all their. So I think there's a middle ground, and I think some agencies are out there doing it. Big shout out to those agencies that are out there doing real work for people, man, like setting systems to help people really succeed, right? So, but unfortunately, there's more of the other side than not, right?
Yeah, and I think it's such a powerful point to get across too. Like, there is the side of, look, as a business owner, you're investing a lot of time, and and for myself, it's like, what if I'm spending time with a new agent? I'm not on the phones. I'm not, it's like a double whammy. If I'm investing in that person, I'm not, I'm spending time and money there, and I'm not selling and build, and writing policies. I'm losing money there. So, and then if that new agent doesn't work out, Jesus, I just I didn't write a policy, and then I also lost time. You know what I mean? So it's I totally get both sides of the argument, but like you said, there are a lot of good agencies out there that are managing the risk, because that's what it is, and that is tough. And I think it's another good point, because I see it in all the groups. It's, hey, I'm a new agent. Who's going to give me all of the leads and give me the most amazing support, and who's going to just do it all for me, basically? Like, in those posts, there's 100 of them every single day, right? And it's like, as a business owner, you're
And
like,
I only want to, and I can only work 15 hours a week.
yeah, I only want to do part-time. Yeah, I want to do part-time. And yeah, and so as a business owner, you're like, block, decline, please do not reach out to me.
For sure.
But that's also part of it comes into like this whole entitlement world that we live in today. And yeah, so it's, it's tough. It's real. It's real though.
And look, I think that, and I think this will be one of the closing things that we kind of go, and, look, I think we've covered a lot, but the idea that somehow this is going to be easy. I think that's one of the things that, as a new agent coming in, you've got to brush off, right? Two things. I'll say my two thoughts, right, on kind of the end of this, but that, right, the idea that this in any way, shape, or form is easy, and that you're going to find some magical formula that's going to get you there any faster, right? That doesn't exist. And I say this from a place where I have searched, right? Again, I'm not 100 years old, but man, I'm 42 years old, right? I've been creating and running businesses since I was 18, 19 years old, and I have failed at most of those businesses, right? Let me be clear about that. I have started maybe 24 companies, and man, you've even, we go so back, right? That, I had a project that I created around shipping, and we try to do something together on it, and it failed, right? And I spent months, and my partner spent months and months working and trying to figure out if this was something innovative and something that was going to work. And unfortunately, it wasn't, right? And so the point is that this shit is not easy, right? Going to start a business, and in the any business for that matter, but in the insurance business, God, man, there are so many potholes and obstacles that are going to be thrown at you that you're going to have to fail, right? That's which is part of this process, right? You got to get to a breaking point to start really making strides and pushing through those moments. So that's the first thing, right? And then last thought is just, you have to get away from the idea that sorry, a thought came into my head, but I forgot. We are on a podcast, so we can't get so crazy out here. But the idea that it's going to, the idea that without the discipline, that was the second thing I was going to say, and I talk about this a lot, right? Just the discipline it takes to tune out everything and make life simple, right? There's a million things coming at you as a new agent: CRMs, automations, workflows, AIs, chatbots, leads, live transfers, pre-booked appointments, closed deals, underwriting. There's a million things coming at you as a new agent. There's only a couple of things that are going to actually help you be successful in the beginning, and that's activity, get on the phones, keep that discipline, right? Forget about all these million things that are out there, right? And I say this to agents a lot, go make money, right? Go get on the phones and fail and pitch and make some sales. And then when you're making money, you can come back and sweep up all the dust that you created when you started, right? Because that's how a startup happens, right? It's not by making everything perfect and then executing. It's by executing, making mistakes, and then being successful at something, and then going back and fixing those mistakes, right? And changing the process and upping the workflows and introducing AI, and bringing a caller on, all these million things that you can do in this business or in any business, but just keep it simple. Just dial. If you're a telesales agent, just just dial, right? Just get on the phones and dial. Do it day in and day out. Get the training. Make sure that you're lined up with someone, but keep yourself simple. Don't get bogged down by all these different ideas and stuff.
Yeah.
What are your kind of maybe closing thoughts on this?
No, I mean, I'll piggyback off that because I just had this conversation with a friend of mine and who's also a small business owner, and it, and when and when you do fail, I think what's very tough for a lot of us, is really stripping yourself of that ego and giving yourself the opportunity to actually change, right? So I think failure is you're going to 100% fail, right? When you start, you're going to fail, and and whether or not you have the support there to tell you that you're failing is a big key, right? So like for me, you get off a phone call, you're like, oh, that went really well, and then you listen back to it, and you're like, wow, I am terrible. like, you know what I mean? And so, but you have to. But even at that, once you realize you're failing or you're failed or you're like, this is not going well, right? To allow yourself the space to make a change and execute that change. I don't think anybody really talks about that, right? And it's so difficult. Whether it's how you're using your script, how you're integrating your tonality, whether it's where you're buying your leads from. You've bought into the system and you're saying, you know what, this just isn't working. I've seen the people around me, it's not working for them. The only one I see it's working for is the man upstairs, the one above me that recruited me on the yacht. And so again, I think the biggest thing for me early on was being in a place where I can know where I'm failing, when I'm failing, and then, okay, I'm going to actually do something about it now. Because a lot of people, we make the leap, we get in, we try it, and we go, well, gave it a try, gave it a shot. I mean, we've seen it. We've trained people who are like, we've gone on the side and been like, man, this person has got what it takes. They are a boss on the phone. And then in 1 week, they're like, well, I want to try something different a little bit here. Or there's this like online conglomerate. I want to just like, I don't want to make phone calls. I want to send text messages now instead. Like, no. And so like, man, when so that's my closing thing. Like, just really, if you know something's not working for you, find somebody who can help you with it. And if you don't know something's not working for you, but your numbers aren't there, then something's probably not working for you. And you need support, you need help. And that's the biggest thing, because that's what helps me the most, let alone leads, having the support.
Awesome. That's awesome, man. I think, keep it simple, right? Stick with it, be coachable.
Yeah.
Right. Have some discipline, really key points. I think that can help anybody in any business. So look, it's been so awesome to be able to do this. It's exciting. We're going to cover this kind of stuff every week, right? Next week we might be talking about just sales and how to close a deal and other things, right? And so, one is join our Facebook group, right? Insurance Business Dirty Secrets. We'll be on there, not only obviously airing these live streams with people on there, but our goal is to also provide stuff within that group to members. So jumping on and doing some call reviews once a week, doing some live trainings, doing some walkthroughs on how to really run a Facebook ad, how to do a video to run an ad, all the different things that people really want to learn. Our goal is to kind of just put this stuff out there and then try to really provide solutions for people and keep them away from getting into these potholes. So I appreciate everybody out there that watches this, and subscribe to the YouTube channel, like it, share it with people, and help us get this message out there. So guys, we'll see you next week. Eric, any last words?
That's it, man. Yeah, I look forward to it. I mean, in the group, we just, every week after we do one of our shows, we're just going to kind of dive into it. So hopefully everybody, I know everybody has a lot of things to say about how this world works. So yeah, just looking forward to staying in touch with everybody and really getting everyone's feedback.
Awesome. All right, guys, we'll see you guys next week. Take care.
Right. See you guys
Later.